Hello. It's my first time doing a video like this. Normally I just do like covers. I don't really have to like speak and shit. I don't really have to look at you guys. It's kind of weird because I see myself right here and it's gonna be really hard just to not look at myself here. Just like you guys, me, you guys. Okay. This is gonna be like kind of like a more of a. It's not really like an album review. It's kind of more like a mix of like a deep dive with like some introspection on the album. Today we'll be talking about the album Why Would I Watch from the #1 hot new band Hot Mulligan. This album overall has like this theme of looking back at one's memories and just kind of having this like muddied outlook on it. Like just like there's like something you could have done better. Just like always this kind of like regretful type of thing. Like it's just some regret in your memories, but only holding on to those regrets, not really the memories themselves and the joy that it brings you. And Tade's the singer-songwriter here. And just like all the themes pretty much point to this kind of muddied memories in about every song. It was, talks about depression and whatnot. So let's kick right into it. Shouldn't have a label, but I do. Song starts with this nice kind of low fidelity drums, a little bit of acoustic guitar with a nice catchy melody coming from Tade's. Leads into this nice powerful punchy sound where the riff kind of echoes that melody. Kicks off the album in this really nice way. Just energy, I love it. Lyrical content kind of talks about depression, about how Tade's tries to get away from it, and how no matter how hard he tries, like somehow life just leads him back to this depressive state. It says that the door runs from his hand as he tries to leave. It shows kind of like a way of how depression can make you feel stuck, how there's not really like a way out. Even though you try, it's like, oh, you're right here. The camera's right in front of me. It's like you try to grasp the need, or it's like you're trying to leave. You're trying to get to the door to get out of this. You're in like a box. You're trying to leave the box, but it's just like slowly slipping away from you. States that meditation doesn't seem to help. Comes to this dark conclusion. Maybe he wasn't supposed to live that long in the first place, Maybe this is just who he is. Now with the lyric, every memory I've embossed is where I was wrong. Here we have the first lyrics kind of hinting at this like overall theme of the album where the memories he remembers are tainted by these thoughts that he messed up or could have done better. Sheds light on, clinical depression, how it's just most people have to deal with this for the rest of their lives, and as simple as just like taking a pill or like going to self-help guide or something. Yeah, this track transitions beautifully to the next track, which is It's a Family Movie, She Hates Her Dad. Great title. Here we have a slow tempo greeted with Tate's coming in yelling, "Blackout, am I better now?" Fuck, dude. Oh, the hooks on this album. There's some good hooks on this album. Whoo. Oh yeah. Some nice accompanying riffs in the screw that makes me want to kind of like jump around, just like dance the pain away. Like, fuck yeah. Yell that shit at me, dude. Fucking, Alright. Alright. That's how, it's honest feelings, man. This song kind of talks about alcoholism in general, and alcoholism and addiction in general, I should say. Specifically how it's dealt with in a family household. Here, Tade's paints a picture where the environment that they're growing up in is one filled with addiction and, I think resentment as well. You have the parent sister stealing pills, bottles breaking, the house is shaken. I think the parent here referred to is mostly the mother, as there's like a whole song kind of dedicated to the mother. Well, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. We'll get to that later in the album. Themes and the lyrics of the song is kind of, to me, reminds me of a mix between Family Tradition by Census Fail and like Stay Together for the Kids by Blink-182. It's like a little combo of those themes. There's even a lyric saying "Stay Together for the Kids." How original. Whether or not this is like these songs are like inspiration or Tade's got inspiration from these songs. This track really does tell its own story beautifully. Next line, look at us all the same, you'll find nothing you can save, but try and stitch up Grandpa's Tommies. Here Tates is pretty much telling us that his family's addiction, resentment is a hereditary thing and can't really be changed, leading all the way back to the grandfather. Kind of showing that his mom is picking up where the grandfather left off and trying to fix it, but doesn't really seem to go where. It's the same shoes no matter what. And therefore the addiction being a hereditary thing. At the end here we have Ryan singing his nice catchy "You got the bottles breaking" with Taze going, "You pass it down." Oh my, it's beautiful. It's just it reminds me of a lot of like early Taking Back Sunday stuff. I love it. And just that a hit of "You pass it down" over and over and over. Just kind of like Tate cementing this idea that the sins of the parents or the sins of the child. The sins here being referring to like addiction, resentment, and whatnot. As we learn that Tates is fighting with an alcohol problem himself in a later track. Next track, "And I Smoke," picking up the tempo again. "And I Smoke" is a jammer of a song. It describes kind of Tate's anxiety during COVID. In an interview with Brooklyn Vegan, I'm going to take a few excerpts from this. This interview is pretty nice. It gives us like a little brief description of every song on the album. Taze was seeing a therapist. He had some anxiety problems because he's getting these auditory hallucination where he kind of hears voices or like feet pounding on the ceiling. Now his position as a public figure, being a frontman of a band kind of enhances these anxieties, makes him feel like, well, of course I have to be. I got thousands of eyes on me, hundreds of thousands of eyes on me. I have to be being watched, If you have anxiety and then just having to deal with like the whole publicity thing, being a public figure, I can see how that enhances it greatly. The opening verse in here has vocal lines that are melodically like similar to "Shh, Golf Is On." I just like kind of noticed that it's kind of like this like similar like melodic up and down. The tempo and feel of the song stays high and energetic, with Tade's yelling vocals showing his anxiety is high and just not letting up, reciting the things his therapist taught him to do, like breath regulation and clenching his jaw, saying his affirmations. But as the song doesn't lose tension, neither does he. Describing the feeling of anxiety attacks, senses heightened to react to a drop of a pin, still trying to reassure himself that he is alone. The final chorus gets flipped a bit. Tates feels like the techniques his therapist taught him don't really make a difference, aren't really helping, calling his affirmations useless, unable to escape the thought that someone is watching him. The tension doesn't end until the song ends, where we're then greeted with this nice soundscape that kind of sounds like we're reversing back in time, which is like perfect for the next song. Song title frustrates me a bit. The song title is, the song is called It's Called What It's Called. The song is called It's Called What It's Called. The song starts with this nice beautiful Midwest like emo riff where Tate's like reminiscing on the past, specifically remembering an amalgamation of past tours, memories from past tours, from memories of drinking Crown, being in an old van with a farmer tan, to losing his wallet. These memories aren't really like meaningful memories, it's just what he remembers. The song then gets broken up by a faster tempo with a nice jumpy middle section where he further explains this, talks about he doesn't remember a lot of his memories. There's really no way for him to get that back, stating he half remembers everything. But what he does remember gets muddied by these thoughts of like regret, how he could have done things differently for the better, how he had many misconnections. Maybe even he could have done like more extravagant things that he could have remembered that isn't losing his wallet, sleeping in an old van, Asking the listener if he's at fault even though he never intended things to be this way. He twists every memory he has into one where he did wrong, paints himself as a villain because he can only remember his wrongdoings. He knows there's more to his memories than his regrets, but those regrets seem to have pushed the good memories away. Next track in the album is "No Shoes in the Coffee Shop" or "Socks." Here we stay on the same thing of regretting the past and mudding nostalgic memories with thoughts of how things and choices could have been done differently. This time, Tates thinks about buying a camera to record some stuff. then begging the question, if he already fills himself with regret just thinking about his memories, then why would he watch recordings of those memories? This is a beautiful melancholic song with a catchy chorus that sounds playful despite the lyrical contents. Here is where we get more of the references to Tade's addiction to alcoholism with a lyric, "For every crater on the moon, there's an empty beer around the room." Tade describes himself trying to drink the pain away, an addiction that we learned from a previous song he inherited. Lost with what to do, he even considers the idea of doing nothing for the fear that he'll remember who he has been, thinking that wallowing in his deep regrets is punishment for the wrongdoing he's done, at least the wrongdoing that he thinks he's done. Tates ends the song understanding that sitting on his regrets is a thing that holds him back from what he wants in life. Next track on the album is "Christ Alive, My Toe, Damn It Hurts." Pretty sure that's how you say that. It's probably running for one of my favorite songs on the album. The hook is just so cathartic and just fun to yell at the top of your lungs, like, "I feel like dying." Definitely gonna enjoy this song live. The song carries such an upbeat energy while having this juxtaposition of suicidal ideation. It really manifests this feeling of telling people that you're depressed, but it's just not taken seriously because most of the time you act happy and lively. Similarly to how the upbeat tune masks the serious themes, he feels like he's lost himself. Nobody really cares whether he's here or not. He talks about smoking even though it'll mess up his head more, but life's less disappointing when he's high. Self-destruction feels better than despair. Shows a road that most people dealing with depression take, would rather feel messed up than feel nothing at all. Probably my favorite lyric on this song is, "You laugh and say same when I say I'm unhappy. Just stop." I think most of us are familiar with using the phrase same when someone talks about something emotional. Like, "Oh, I feel like dying." Same, bro, same. This behavior usually ends the conversation, really leads to people actually talking about why they feel that way, what's going on, you know? It's almost like the person reciprocating that they feel the same way is enough to suffice what thoughts and feelings that the other person has on the subject. Really, it doesn't. It doesn't provide much value, I'd say. He ends the song telling himself to just put his head down and that no one really cares if he's here or not, feeling frustration as he pulls his hair out, repeating the line, "No one cares now. No one cares now." This feels trip is far from over. We start the second half of the album with a excruciating sad song called "Betty." Songs featuring Tades and acoustic guitar, and a really emotional song about his dog passing away. Tades said in this Brooklyn Vegan interview that I'm gonna refer to again, that the song's about his dog Betty that passed away. Also had a sister named Doc that passed sometime after. Describing how she slept tucked in a tiny ball, spending time together during what I assume is during the years of the COVID isolation. She falls ill, with Tate's hoping that, this illness will pass, but the vet says that this is something that will not go away. Tate's paints his vivid description of staying awake at night, making sure she's breathing, hoping everything will just be okay. But alas, it ends with her passing away, and Tate's getting her ashes and just not wanting to look at what's left of his beloved friend, not really knowing what to do with the ashes. I'm pretty sure staring at the ashes just fills him with this pain and just the sense of what's next, what do I do, with the overall themes we see on this album of mudding memories with thoughts of regret. I feel like maybe Tates probably feels some sort of regret here too. Maybe he could have done something to make her live. Maybe there's some way he could have prevented this. I mean, if you ever lost a pet or a loved one, I'm sure you know what it's like to just feel oh, maybe I could have done something to prevent this tragic outcome. Maybe I could have. If I could have done this, if I could have done that. Just these thoughts that kind of, that would like really push out those like good memories out, you know, just kind of, just fills you with this sense of like regret and despair. But it's easy for those like thoughts and like feelings to come about in hindsight. You know, you shouldn't blame yourself for things you couldn't have known could or would happen. Really sad tune. Good tune though. Prepare for some tonal whiplash as we head into the next song, Cock Party 2. Better than the first. Beautiful name. Keeping on the theme of memories, Tades reminisces on past friends he no longer is in touch with, wondering when did the threads that held them together become so loose. Mentioning he still feels those threads pulling towards those people, at least in his thoughts, thinking about them. Wondering where these friends have ended up since graduation, if they ever did the things they talked about when they were younger. The melancholic riff we hear for most of the beginning of the song is really helps sets the scene. This kind of like almost droning going between two notes. It just sets this nice scene of Tate's pondering all of these thoughts as he spills these questions from his soul. As it slowly builds up to this climax where it sounds like Tate's frustration on these thoughts just builds and explodes. He ends the song with an intrusive thought that he shouldn't care where his old friends are, but can't shake the thought of wanting to create new memories with them. This next track is the first single we got from the album, Shhh, Golf is On. It's a nice, powerful piece that shows Tade's disdain for his mother. Feeling shame that he looks like her, wanting her to just not exist. For every time he passes her house, he looks for her car, probably out of fear or anger that he might see her. The song is the reason why I feel it's easy to say in the earlier track, it's a family movie, she hates her dad. It's mostly in reference to her, with imagery in the lyrics like, let the locusts have your home, and your house in the weeds, hope it sinks into the cornfields. Really cements this thought that Tate just wants his mother and everything in relation to her to just be gone, disappear, be eaten by nature, no longer there, to be consumed and made anew. Truly wishes for a life in a world where she's just not around. Nice catchy song with a nice hook. Just, there's nothing special in the water here. Fuck. When I first heard this song, I didn't really know it was about his relationship to his mother. I don't really listen to lyrics too much. I have this like auditory processing issue with like words and hearing what people say. So like when I first heard that lyric, there's nothing special in the water here, I thought the song was kind of like akin to not liking a town. I thought it was like that whole pop punk trope of not liking the town you come from. But after like reading through the lyrics and really understanding, it's some deep shit. The next track we'll get to is going to be Gans Media Retro Games. This was the second single released and tease of this album. A little bit of trivia. The title of the song is named after a retro game store that was across the street from where they were recording the album. Beautiful song. I loved it on first listen. So with that hook, am I the problem? I just love Tate screaming in my ear. So much emotion. I love it. Another cathartic listen, you know. I'm sure that to those of us that are more introspective always seem to put the blame on ourselves when something goes wrong in our lives. Because who else is to blame but yourself in the end, usually? Granted, that's not always true. Others could be part of your problem. Tates feels like, by getting drunk and letting his inhibitions go, he tends to say things that make people not want to talk to them. He just says the wrong things sometimes. At first, he isn't sure he's a problem. He just thought he couldn't follow the pace of conversation. He's just maybe not a good conversationalist. In the Brooklyn Vegan interview, he says that it seems like he drinks and loses touch between what he's saying and what he means. This miscommunication between his brain and his mouth leads him to say things in a wrong way, which then leads him to realizing he's hurting people in some way, and becomes fearful of himself doing that again. Feeling numb, worthless, and pointless, even referencing suicidal ideation again as being at peace. I feel like we're to blame for our actions, but our action isn't always the cause of all our problems, you know? You need to change your introspection to ask, why am I doing what I'm doing? What experiences is leading me to these actions, have led to my actions? Instead of ruminating on this idea that I'm doing bad things, so I must be a bad person. There's usually deeper roots to your conclusion, you know? And it's all about finding those deep roots and understanding the core reason for the way you act, and the things you do. Next track in the album is going to be a Smahccked My Head Awf. Here, we have Tate's describing a visit with his grandmother, who is slowly losing her memory, most likely due to dementia. Tate's help her around the house, asks if she's fed the birds, saying no. It's like, alright, I got it for you. Don't worry. The grandmother, asking how his brother is doing, forgetting that he in fact died a long time ago. Knowing that one day he'll be a stranger to her. The song shows how much frustration Tate is dealing with, blaming himself in a way, screaming in anguish. Would you remember if I never left? The song is so heartbreaking. I remember seeing my grandma pass away. She didn't have dementia, but during the last few days of her life, she was losing her memory a bit. I remember one of those visits, I remember she forgot who my mom was, and just seeing the pain in my mother's eyes. It's a memory and a feeling that sticks with you, It's just really brutal seeing the one you love just kind of fade away. They're still there, but they're just remnants of someone who's there. It's just, whew. I think the song conveys just that the thoughts one has and the feelings one has when losing someone. It's just a beautiful song. And last but definitely not least, we get into the final track of the album. John the Rock Cena, Can You Smell What the Undertaker? I can't help but chuckle at how all these deep songs are hidden under this veil of song titles that don't convey the song in any way and are also comedic. It's this interesting duality of comedy and tragedy type thing. It's like a yin yang, so to speak. Hot Mulligan is they know how to make song titles. The song is generally about body dysmorphia, but more specifically how the religion and the church that led Taze to develop this body dysmorphia and self-villainization, how all religious teachings taught him to hate himself and that his nature is fatal, teaching him that he is broken as a human, so he must stay devout to God in order to be saved. He even blames himself here at one point, saying he should have been more ignorant and just listened to them preach instead of reading between the lines. As you question the teachings, you start to lose faith. And as Tate says realistically, losing faith is losing all the folks you thought might give a fuck. It's this disgusting truth that the friends you make in faith usually will not give a fuck when you stop believing. This is one of the many reasons people stick to their faith even though they want to leave. When the friends you make in religion are the only support system you have, most people aren't going to want to leave that and try to build anew. And others really just can't. When you live in a small town where most of the population practices the faith, going against that religion just kind of puts a mark on your back and leaves you isolated. Taze looks back at pictures of himself when he was a kid, how in every of these pictures he notices he's wearing the same coat, about 2 sizes too big for him, covered head to toe, but still never felt like he had enough. Still feeling shameful, as if the only way he'd feel okay is if he was invisible. Personally, I relate to these feelings of body dysmorphia. When I was a child growing up, I was, pretty obese. I remember I'd always be wearing a pullover, to hide the way I looked. Even recently, like 3 years ago, I felt the confidence to start wearing sleeveless shirts. Before, I was just so scared that, people would see my self-inflicted scars that I have, and I just was afraid of people judging me for that and just thinking differently of me. Luckily now, I just I don't give a shit, dude. This was shit I did when I was a teenager. Are you gonna hold me accountable for being a depressed teenager? What the fuck? What? Really? You're gonna I don't know. I'm happy we end this album with Tade's understanding that the root of this problem, at least, stems from something that wasn't under his control and not blaming himself for once. Being a kid, you just naturally go to whatever religious teachings your parents or your community partakes in. And it's not his fault he couldn't stay ignorant and not question what he was being taught, especially if the teachings were filling him with so much shame. Nice conclusion to the album. Upon my first few listens of this album, I usually listen to just music first, and then whatever hooks kind of get yelled at me and I could catch, those I kind of hold on to. I still love the energy in the fast-paced songs. The slower paced songs really have this nice emotional, melancholic feel to it, especially considering that this album has some deep themes in it. And upon, listening further and actually, like, reading lyrics with the songs really hit home, really had, like, another deeper meaning. Just really emotional stuff. And I love that Hot Mulligan and Tate's is able to put this, like, deep emotional content while still providing a beautiful soundtrack, beautiful music, and just all around, this album's probably going to be one of my favorites for this year. Well, this is my video, I don't know, like an introspection. It's not really like a review. I really like this album. I'm gonna see them live, I think, coming in July. So I'm fucking stoked for that, definitely. Whew. I'm gonna be that annoying motherfucker who's gonna be screaming next to your ear. I hope any of you guys who are going to the concert is also just screaming in other people's ear. Okay, maybe not in their ear. I feel like like I'm telling people, scream in people's ears, dude, and give them hearing damage. If you made it this far, thanks for listening to me and like kind of just deep diving into this album. Really touched on some emotional stuff today. I make cover videos. I might do a cover song of something off of this album. Check out any of my covers here. I know I have a Hot Mulligan one. Hopefully I put it right here because I'm pointing here. And then I'll put something else I like right here. I'll put two links. Yeah, there'll definitely be 2 links here, and I'm not recording this for no reason, and the ending is not going to just be me waving my finger about.